As the offseason progresses, we still haven't heard very many updates about Cole Caufield, and you guys have been leaving lots of comments asking whether or not we should be concerned. We're going to be breaking down whether we should or shouldn't, and plus, whether maybe Cole Caufield could get an offer sheet coming. You don't want to miss this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier, and a quick reminder, as always, to hit the subscribe button and to hit that notification bell. You guys love watching our videos as soon as they come out. We know that, so if you hit the notification bell, you'll know the second we upload, because we're not always super consistent with the time, but if you have the bell on, it won't matter. You'll get your news first. All right, Jesse, let's just talk about this. Should we be worried about Cole Caufield's extension? And I'm just going to come straight out and say it. I'm going to say no. We've been responding to some people who have left comments about this stuff. I personally don't think we should be too worried yet. As we take a look at what his contract has looked like, of course, it's expired. He's an RFA now, going into next year. So there's plenty of leverage for Montreal to sign him. They said, Cole Caufield wants to be in Montreal long term. But Jesse, we heard Pat Brisson, Cole Caufield's agent, earlier this year say that don't be surprised if Caufield wants a bridge deal. To me, maybe this hang-up could be coming from Montreal wanting that kind of 8-year extension to match Suzuki, while Caufield's side's like, listen, the cap's going to go up, I want a bit more money. What are your thoughts on the situation, and are you concerned at all?
It is taking a long time, and Cole Caufield is just so important for this team, right? On a team where we need that goal-scoring threat all the time. The fact that it's taking a little bit longer, it's on my mind, but I wouldn't say it's worrying me yet, and I feel like the fact that the bridge deal is probably, the likelihood is that they're going for that and they're just working out on some of those details, right? And that's probably why this is just taking a little bit longer than expected.
Yeah, there's so many variables surrounding this decision from Cole Caufield. Number one has to be his ailing shoulder, coming off a season-ending surgery. A surgery where pretty much everyone has said he'll come back at full strength, if not better. I mean, remember, this guy was basically on a 50-goal pace with a bum shoulder for the amount that he played this year. And if they were in a playoff push, he would have continued to play. But it's good, he'll be healthy. But you gotta think, as we said, maybe Caufield will want to lock up that long-term deal. But no, his agent says no, Caufield probably wants the bridge deal because the cap is going up and stuff. So, Jesse, I see a world where it kind of ends good for Montreal either way, whether if we get a bridge deal, say Caufield, if he scores 50 goals a year for those 3 years or whatever he signs for, he'll be worth a ton when they have to re-sign him down the road. But, I don't know. It's very interesting. And it also raises the question, and the big question, I'll get your opinion on this right away. Could he be offer sheeted? I mean, the hockey writers seem to think that he could be. They said that he needs to be extended before there's an offer sheet. We've seen it happen before with some Habs prospects. What are your thoughts on the potential Cole Caufield offer sheet incoming? Do you think there's any plausibility to those claims?
I think that Cole Caufield is not Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He's definitely no KK. He wants to stay, right? Because the thing with the offer sheets, it only matters to teams that have inklings of a player that wants to go somewhere else. That's the only way that it would be appealing in any shape. I feel like Cole Caufield is a great hockey player, but he's intelligent as well. And in that intelligence, he knows that playing with Nick Suzuki, like that's his partner right there. And I think, it's going to set him up in the future to just have so much success. So I feel like he really wants to stay. But for sure, other teams, they know how valuable, how dynamic a player like this is, and they might be a little bit upset that, hey, we missed out on him. Do we have any chance of kind of doing this in the future? So I do see him being very valuable, throughout the league. But just the fact that, staying in Montreal, despite being injured the whole year, you can tell that he loves Martin St. Louis. And I would very much argue that Marty St. Louis is the perfect coach for Cole Caufield. He knows that he's basically in a perfect environment in Montreal for him to flourish, which I think we fully expect him to do.
Yeah, I mean, every player has basically said that Marty St. Louis, they joke that he's Cole Caufield's dad, right? All the time. This Cole Caufield's the coach's pet, clearly. I wanted to get your opinion on this, too. Do you think there's ever a number that's too high for Montreal to match? Because I think they have the space to match any offer sheet no matter what. It's just a matter of whether or not they want to handicap themselves. I don't know if you can really say that in good faith about Cole Caufield. I mean, yeah, maybe a contract will be more than he's worth, but I don't know if it'd be bad. Like, let's say a team comes in and offers him tomorrow $10 million a year for 8 years. Is that something Montreal might balk at? Like, is there even a number where Montreal won't just say, nah, you're staying?
I think so. I think Kent Hughes is very pragmatic, and it would get a certain point. But again, all this very much contingent on Cole Caufield signing, that deal and whatever it is. But yeah, you have to feel like at a certain point, even under different management, where it's, we've had to sometimes pull away when it's a little bit, the cost is too high. And I think rightfully so. I think sometimes, even though KK is doing okay over in Carolina, I think that many Montreal Canadiens fans didn't want to pay him that much. I think it's a completely different situation with Cole Caufield. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for the quality of player that he is. No disrespect to KK, but I feel like he's a much greater player as well, much greater asset. And we're really going to get this situation right. But I really feel like he's aiming for that bridge deal. I think that's what he really wants. I feel like it could be like a win-win for Montreal and himself. Like, he's definitely going to get the most money. I think an American player coming to a Canadian market, it's fair. You definitely want to get paid. There's tax implications. So it's kind of the best of the both worlds. So he could maybe maximize on his payday while at the same time being very motivated, very incentivized to play great hockey for the Habs, right? To secure on that, really bet himself and get a great contract in the end.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because I think that's probably the reason they haven't completed it yet. I'd say Montreal's like, listen, can we get you to that 8 years? And Caufield's like, listen, I want the money, this and that. But another thing, too, I wanted to bring up about offer sheets is that a lot of people, I don't know if it's something they just don't really think about or they don't remember, they don't know about it because it's a complicated system. But remember, like you said, Jesse, Cole Caufield has to sign the papers. Like, if a team like Carolina comes to Cole Caufield and says, we want you, and Caufield's like, no thanks, I don't want to go there. Carolina, like, that offer sheet's nothing. It doesn't exist because Caufield didn't sign it. But I wanted to bring up this user on Reddit. I'm going to give full credit. Issue66 on the Habs subreddit did an amazing breakdown. So props to you. If you're watching, I don't know, maybe not, but regardless, if you didn't take credit in the comments, please. But here's an interesting breakdown. We'll go through this pretty quick. But basically, if he does sign an offer sheet, let's assume first it's around 6.5 to 8.5. Montreal would get a first, second, and third back. If he signed and he left, that would be the compensation. So he lists all the teams there that you can have a read through that have those 3 picks even available. It's only about half the teams in the league. Then he says Anaheim, Chicago, Columbus, they're probably not going to want to give up their picks. He says doubt anyone, especially Caufield, would sign in Arizona. Calgary, St. Louis don't have the cap space. Dallas has their only cap space is about what Montreal would be comfortable paying, so it wouldn't really be worth it. Then you just got Buffalo, who has some prospects to sign in the coming years. Carolina, Detroit, Nashville, and Seattle. And he mentions, or she, that Carolina, Detroit, Nashville, and Seattle are very interesting potential landing spots because they all have the picks available to give away, and they have upwards of $8.5 million in cap space. So if they wanted to give him that mega deal, 8.5 plus, they could. Again, do you see a world where someone like Carolina, we keep bringing up that name, this storybook thing, Montreal offer sheets Sebastian Aho, Carolina matches it. Carolina offer sheets Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Montreal says, go on, that's fine. They trade the picks for Christian Dvorak. Could this saga continue with Cole Caufield? And if not, do you see a world where maybe Nashville or someone like Seattle and up-and-coming expansion teams decides to make a big move? Ron Francis takes a run at superstar in Cole Caufield.
Well, we've seen that they've definitely tried to spite us in the past, for sure. That's why I really want this deal just to get done so soon, right? Because it's just, he is so important for this team. Like, you could argue he's like one of the core foundation pieces of this team. I would say he has to update. He's my favorite player on the Montreal Canadiens. I think that, if his development continues to go well, that he's probably going to be the most impactful player that we have on our roster as it speaks right now. So important. I'm refreshing my feed all the time because I have a feeling like it's coming close. But to be honest, I'm not counting any of my chickens before they hatch.
No, it's a good point. I mean, look, we've seen extensions like this take a long time, even into September. So the one message I think we want to leave you guys with is just because we're not hearing anything doesn't mean it's bad, right? And when you're not hearing news, it means that there's no huge disagreement. Think about it. We haven't heard any news saying Caufield and the Canadiens are far apart on an extension. In fact, the only news we've heard pretty much about this since it started is that Cole Caufield wants to be here. Montreal wants to keep him. They're going to do what they need to do to make it happen. Guys, they're not far apart. I'd say there may be some hang-ups. We haven't heard anything yet, but there's lots of time before next season. So, like I said, Jesse, don't count your chickens before they hatch, but at the same time, I think we can stay pretty optimistic about this one. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're well past 5,500 now, guys. We are on a crazy, torrid pace. We want to hit 6K soon, so if you haven't hit that button, do it now. Help us hit 6K. It'd be really appreciated. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.